Dude, I'm a total jerk. I didn't take any video. I didn't take any time lapse of the entire assembly of the heating system. I'm a jerk. I brought my camera down. I had it all ready. I just didn't use it. Sorry about that. So what I'll do is I'll give you an after story. So in this little room here, I'm building the heating system. This is the pellet boiler, as I believe I've showed you before. I have it in place. I have shimmed it up with some concrete blocks and these plastic, shim material that a buddy of mine gave me. Doesn't rot, seems to work pretty well, so it's shimmed up, and I have built the heating system to include the supply and return headers, the zones. I've got my stuff here, so I can give you a quick rundown. It's just like any other heating system. Supply comes out, I've got a shut off and a union, and this actually also has a valve here to drain the system, all in one unit. I'm not even pointing at it, sorry. So yeah, it's all in one unit. Union here. You put a union in so you can, your heating system can stay and you can replace your boiler or work on it or whatever. So anyway, I've got the Circulator system pump, which will circulate the water for the boiler, not for the zones. It'll help push it to the zones. Anyway, so you shut off on either end of that so that you can work on the pump. Then I've got an air remover. This thing normally doesn't have a cap on it, and it lets air out. And this expansion tank, this helps when the entire system is full of water and raises and lowers in temperature, water changes its volume, and this helps with that. This here is a little diverter valve, which will let me plumb in my propane tankless or propane boiler as a backup. So right now I just have them closed, and I have this. This will let it go through, and when this is like this, it goes here and then comes back here. So then it comes down here to a T and goes out to the supply. The reason it goes down here is it goes into this thing, which is the Danfoss Thermic Valve. You can see it kind of there. So basically the idea here is that you drop your level. Yeah. So this is the return into the boiler. I've got that same valve you saw before. It's a union, it's a ball valve, and it's a drain. And I make sure that the drain drains this side, not this side, because that's what this boiler drains for. So, this is a thermic valve, which basically says you put an element down here in the bottom, which I just got yesterday, that says 140 degrees goes back to the boiler. And so basically, it won't let this water come through until the result is 140 degrees. So as the boiler kicks on, it's basically going to go here. It's going to try and fill up the loops, but here it's not going to let it in, and so the pressure will build here and then force it this way and back down to the boiler, and it'll just basically circulate. That's what that system circulator pump is for. So it'll circulate around and around and around until this thing starts to heat up. Now, as the water starts to get hotter and hotter, 140, 150, it's going to heat up, and then it's going to start seeping some of this cold water in, mixing it to 140. Eventually, it'll get to the point where hot water is going out here, the zones have then heated up, and the water coming back is plenty warm and goes back into the boiler. So basically, this is a protection to make sure no cold water enters your boiler. And the reason you don't want cold water in your boiler is because it creates condensation in the flue, in the firebox, which creates creosote, which creates chimney fires. Anyway, from here, the water comes out and into the zones. This zone here will go to the house through these 1-inch lines that go underground. This is the return from the house, which is that line there. These are my 2 garage zones, which I have yet to build. But today is beautiful, and therefore, I will be working outside, cutting a hole in my garage for the pellet vent pipe. So it's a pretty simple run of venting, straight up and straight out. Put a T so you have a clean out so you can clean it out. Amazing. I have yet to figure out how this thing is wired, or how the last person had it wired. He's got this going to a pump, and then he's got a separate aquastat, which I don't think is necessary, and so I bought this used off a heating guy, a plumber, so what does he know? So I'm going to change it all around. That's not very nice. But I just think that a lot of people that get into, they just get so stuck in how all boilers have been wired for all of time that they just wire them the same way. And this boiler has controls built into it. It has a built-in aquastat that already controls all of those things that he tried to do with this thing. So it's just redundant. And, you know, a guy's been doing it for 30 years, so 30 years he's been using aquastats and pumps, and that's what he knows, so that's what he does. But I don't work like that. So, yeah, so I'm going to install a pellet vent, and, yeah, enjoy.